welcome. It's great to be here with you this evening. Normally I'm in a classroom with people, like many of us, we are used to talking to people, so it's kind of odd to be talking to a screen. There is a chat feature in the webinar if you haven't been here before, so if you have comments, or there's a Q&A also, but the chat feature probably would work fine. So please ask any questions or make comments there. Well, welcome, I'm so glad you're here. As I have been working on this over the last days, and in particular today, it really gets me excited. I get very wound up, very passionate about it. Sometimes I feel like that's a fairly overused word, but I really do get quite excited about being able to present the Builder Profile 10 assessment to people. I was actually trained to be a VP10 coach back in 2017, so almost 3 years ago. It was in October of 2017, and I did my training down at the Riverfront campus of Gallup. And at the time I was teaching, working with the high school students in a workforce development opportunity for them in high skill, high wage, high demand careers. So part of preparing them to explore and look at careers was knowing themselves. Schools are really good at letting us know what we're academically good at, what we're academically not good at, what our athletic ability is, what our artistic ability is or is not. And then if there's anything wrong with us, I find that we're pretty effective at letting students know what's wrong with them. But we found that the Gallup tools, the Clifton strengths I presented on last month, and the VP10 were really, really awesome for helping students build their self-awareness. It's really hard to know what you want to do if you don't know who you are. So I've been a VP10 coach for about 3 years. And I want to start this evening too. It's a really interesting time, to put it mildly. So I've been a VP10 coach for nearly 3 years, and everything that I say to you tonight applied 3 years ago when we had a much different economic situation. 2017, things were getting better, they were improving, it was looking really good. Unemployment was low and getting lower. Nonetheless, a lot of the reasons that the VP10 assessment was developed held true even during what was considered a really strong economic time. That time has changed. We still have many pieces of our economy that appear to be quite strong. It's also a great time for opportunity. And that's a whole lot different than opportunistic. So opportunistic right now is hoarding and cruelty. Opportunity, on the other hand, is that way to see this is what we're going through, be it pandemic, be it deciding how we're going to include people and change the social structure of our country, and hopefully even broader than that. And how are we going to be involved in building something better? So it's a really unique opportunity if you're a builder, or you want to be a builder, or you're interested in this. Maybe you're regrouping, maybe you're re-energizing with what you want to do, or your choice, either by choice or by necessity. We've always kind of wanted answers where none were ever really very available to us. We looked outward a lot for answers. What the Gallup tools can allow you to do is do more inward looking. And I think right now a lot of us are looking a whole lot more inward about the impact that we have. So I invite you to look inward. If you've taken the VP10, excellent. If you haven't, I hope when I'm done that you feel that it would be a good tool to add to your toolkit and self-awareness. So dig into learning who you are with the VP10, and this is a tool that will help you to do that. So that's kind of my spiel here. Time for opportunity, time to be upbeat, not opportunistic, opportunity. So I have a lot, there's so much, and for me, my number one strength in my Clifton strengths is learner and like input and intellection, and then my knowledge is in my top 4 for VP10. So there's never too much I can take in. The challenge for me is how do I give it back to you in a way that's meaningful. So I've tried to narrow that down. Here's the plan for this evening. I'm going to talk real briefly about personal development versus self-help. Talking about talent into strength, I think it's extremely important that I set some context. Where did this VP10 come from? It's from Gallup. I know about that strengths thing, and they do surveys and all that. Gallup's Builder Profile 10 obviously will be the focus. I know that with DoSpace, they're looking at ways in our current economy and work climate. How can you apply this to your life to help you either upskill, to get a new job, to get a promotion? So some life applications for you as well. And then lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't encourage you to take this and look at it as an opportunity to learn who you are, either to grow a business that you currently have, now that you know your talent to build, or to build a business that maybe's been niggling at you, and this is maybe the time. So that will be what we'll cover. So again, thank you for being here. It's awesome to have you here. And we really do need your talent, your inspiration, your ideas, and your drive. We've always needed each and every one of you. Right now, we need you to take action on that talent, on that inspiration, on those ideas and drive. I think more than ever. Kind of makes me think of makes me think of this song I can remember singing as a little kid, "This Little Light of Mine." And I think your talent is like that little light in you, and we each have our own little light. And so when you can explore your talent, those things that are right about you, and let them shine. So I'm going to ask you to let your little light shine. So talent, personal development versus self-help. I would love to see the self-help book industry go out of business. Self-help to me is about fixing what's wrong with you. Read plenty of them. I have plenty of things wrong with me. We all do. What's so awesome about what Don Clifton started in his research at the University of Lincoln is it's about talent. It's about a psychology that focuses on what's right with people. Therefore, it's about personal development. And if you develop personally, then you can also develop professionally. So this is personal development, not about self-help. I'd love to put the industry out of business, but that does provide jobs too. So again, what's right about you, the positive psychology. And the VP10 is one way for you to identify just what's right about you. And so your talent is that way that you naturally think, feel, and behave. It's just so you that a lot of times you can't even see it. So for example, using a talent from the VP10, well, everyone has confidence, not the way you do. You have a special amount of confidence in the work and the way that you do it. So talent and strengths, Clifton strengths, VP10, but they're my talent themes. They're my top 4 builder talents. Talents, again, are those natural ways that you are, that light that you bring. Strength is how do you get that light brighter, and how do you develop that strength? And so a strength is when you are almost always perfect. You're unstoppable at something. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the chat. Slow me down. I'd love to answer questions. If anything, just grabs you that you want to know. This is a formula. This is from the Clifton Strengths, but this is a talent formula. It doesn't matter what talent you bring to the table that you're developing. First of all, you have to know what it is. So what's your talent? You got to identify it. If it's basketball, it's basketball. If it's oil paints, it's oil paints. If it's flute playing, it's flute playing. But to make it strength, to make yourself unstoppable, to make it look like it's so easy and one can do it, you have to invest in yourself in developing that talent. So that's that time spent practicing, developing your skills, building your knowledge base, being coached. We accept that all the time for our athletes, our musicians, even our academic teams get coached, but to think personally to be coached, to improve, to take those talents and improve them. So talent into strength is your goal, and that's your formula no matter what it is that you're working on. So your Builder Profile 10 Assessment. Why was it created? I touched on this a little bit when I started. It was created to identify and develop high talent builders. Why? Why would we want to do that? We have plenty of businesses, right? When I took when I became coach in 2017, the 10 years or so this has been being developed. Well, Gallup's research says that small businesses are the fuel to our economy. And I think as we've watched in the last several months, as those businesses have had to close, small and large, but it's the small businesses that have really impacted those local economies. So they are the fuel to our economy. Even before this current event, we were not creating as many businesses as we used to. Businesses were getting larger by buying other businesses instead of by there being entrepreneurs out there creating new businesses. Our current businesses are clearly under siege by outside circumstances. And we need to build more businesses to create more good jobs for people. Gallup is a research organization. They've been doing polls for, I think, like 100 years. And one question that came up that Gallup asked the world was, what is it that you want, world? What is it that you want? And of course, peace sounds really good, but at the end of the day, human beings around the world said, you know what I want? I want a good job. Because if I have a good job, I can be peaceful, I can support my family, I can support my community. So they want a good job. That's the number one thing that Gallup found out. How do you have good jobs? You have good businesses. And so they set about creating a tool that can help us identify our talent to build businesses that make good jobs, that employ good people, that maybe lead to some peace in the world. So Don Clifton's son and Gallup's current CEO, Jim Clifton, talked about this in terms of building versus innovating. So innovation's essential and we need it. However, an innovation has no value until someone ambitious builds a business model around it. Like positive psychology and talent and building a business, right, Mr. Clifton? Builds a business and it turns into a product or a service that customers will buy. More importantly, when I think about the Gallup tools that bring value too. Sometimes we buy things, the value of it's rather questionable, but it still gets purchased. But the customers will buy at the end of the day. I think, let's use something current. 1 year ago, a vaccine for COVID-19 would have been useless. In fact, it was so very useless, no one was bothering to develop it. Made no sense, didn't even know it existed. Today, a vaccine for COVID-19 is priceless. So again, it's what is it? And if you can create that energy around something too, please don't create viruses. I don't think, I'm hoping that's not anyone's intent, but don't create a virus. But the idea is there are lots of people innovating and they might be really good, but we need builders around them to get those great ideas out there. So that's our job too with the Builder Initiative, is to get innovators connected with great builders. Right here locally, we have Unimed at the Med Center doing that. We have the Startup Collaborative. Working Due Space does a lot of work around entrepreneurship. So building, what the heck is building? Why don't I just say entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship? It's a little bit, and there's been some baggage that's gone along with entrepreneurship in the most recent past. Never mind, it's tricky to spell unless you have spell check on. But the other thing is a lot of times we really tie entrepreneurship to the tech industry, to guys, to Silicon Valley, and it's just kind of taken on a meaning all its own. Building, on the other hand, is an art of creating customer energy where none existed. And that's not to say that entrepreneurs don't do that, they do. But building is a broader, I think a lot more inclusive. When you think of all the people in the world and the opportunities that they have, we all can bring it great value. This building talent builds or grows businesses, it creates jobs. Again, what's the number one want in the world? 5 people, great job. And it energizes the economy. We need that right now. So we need more builders, and builders can be developed just like athletes, just like finished carpenters, if you've ever had bad carpentry work done in your house. Musicians, if you've been to an orchestra, if you like a good band, live music, and academics. Builder talent can also be developed with good coaching and a good team around them. So the Builder Profile 10 Assessment. So that's the why and the what a little bit, but what does this assessment tell me? So this Builder Profile 10 Assessment tells you your 10 builder talents in rank order. The other thing is it tells you your alpha or really your leadership role as a builder. So on a leadership team that's building a business, your fit on that leadership team. And if you think of any great businesses, there's a team, there's a face, but there's a team around that face. For me, my age, this maybe applies to some of you as well, but Steve Jobs was definitely the face of Apple. Steve Jobs could never have made Apple without Steve Wozniak, because Steve Wozniak was the guy that was capable of the coding and creating the product. So those two needed, but Wozniak is not the face. He's still not the face of Apple. Someone else is in that role. So your fit on the leadership team is as valuable as anyone else's. It is as valuable as the person who is the face of the team. But this is this is an assessment to help you identify, develop, and then deploy your talents to build. That's the purpose of it. And that's why Gallup created it. So I don't like to necessarily talk about my own experiences, but when I thought about this, I don't know how many people are familiar with the VP10, so I've just decided I'm going to share my report. We can kind of look at that. That allows us then to look at the 10 talents that I'm talking about. It allows us to look at the 3 alpha roles. It also allows you to take a look at the Gallup website around the VP10 once you've taken the assessment. The tools that they have developed around the assessment are phenomenal. The difference from 3 years ago when I took the assessment to today are tremendous. So a whole lot of development in their part. This is a really serious initiative by Gallup. They're very serious. They've done a lot of research. There's a lot of passion by Mr. Clifton around really wanting to develop builders, people who start companies that employ people in great jobs and create economic energy. So it's a very, very important part of the work that Gallup does. So you can see that, and I'm on another screen here, that's why I'm pointing. It's the only one you see. So you can see that it has my name there, so clearly that's me who took it. Your role is as expert. That is my role. I'm not a connector and I'm not a rainmaker. Not that I don't have some talent around those, but my natural fit in the leadership role is expert. And my top 4 talents are disruptor, knowledge, selling, and risk. The other thing I want to show you quickly here that's really awesome is this builder profile e-module and intro. Once you take the assessment, this is a newer tool they built. It's unbelievable. Very, very valuable. You can revisit it, continue to learn. It's a great way to continue to learn, to develop what you know about yourself on your own. And then there are some other tools that go along that are interactive for you. So I'm going to go to my report. So you just click on that. Once you've taken it, you go to your report and everything's working well. So there's my report. And so this is what it looks like. And again, my top 4 talents are disruptor, knowledge, selling, and risk. When I got those 3 years ago, I was not surprised, but there was a whole lot of, oh, that makes so much sense. And my role was expert, and that makes so much sense too. After 3 years, I've come to really embrace that. And as the expert and as a learner, with input and intellection on my Clifton strength side, that's what I'm doing tonight. This is my way to share, to give back, to be that expert, to develop things to help other people. So disruptor, knowledge, selling, and risk, and then you go to the next page and it breaks down a bit more, those top 4 talents, people with high levels of this talent. It gives you some identifiers, some action items, some things that you should do or you should think about doing if disruptor was your number 1. So you experiment to resolve a project's uncertainty. Well, for 30 some years, I was a science teacher. So the idea of experimenting, that was just the way I always thought. So then as a builder, to experiment and then to be a disruptor, you're always looking at, you always kind of, well, why are we doing that? And Is that the best way? And is there something better? So it's just the natural way that I think. Therefore, when you look at it as a builder talent, it rises up. Knowledge, again, my number one in the Clifton Strengths is learner. It fits. Selling. I told you tonight as I stepped into this webinar that I'm really passionate. I get very, very excited. I care a great deal about this, and personally, I've seen this help people. I know it's helped me. So I'm selling you on the value that it could bring to you as well. And then lastly, risk. This isn't crazy risk, trust me. I am not a cliff jumper. This is calculated risk is the way I like to think about it. You can deal with some ambiguity. You're going to do, you're gonna work your way through decision making. And at the end of it, how I've heard it described is, the decision is so clear to make the move that the risk is not making the move. So you've done so much work and it's so clear how you need to pivot or how you need to move forward that the risk is not doing it. And then the rest of it goes into then your next 6 in order. So this then can show you the other 6 talents, builder talents. There's determination, independence, relationship, delegator, confidence, and profitability. Here's the key with these 10 talents and the research that Gallup did around the entrepreneurs, the very successful entrepreneurs that they studied. Excellent, successful entrepreneurs have to account for all 10 of these talents. They have to account for them all. I didn't say they have to have them all. Some do have them all extremely high, but they have to account for them all. So again, I'm going to use a personal story when I think about this, and I think about my 57 years of life, and I see profitability show up number 10. I go, oh, that so fits. And that so fits. Not that it's a weakness on my part. It's just number 10. It's not a weakness. I am who I am, and I ain't what I ain't. And that is number 10. And you know what I do about that? I partner with people, or I hire someone to take care of that part of the business. I have to be aware of it. I'm very aware of it. Knowledge makes me that way. I'm very aware of it, but I know it's not where my talent sits, is not where my comfort sits. So as a builder then, what I want to do is take profitability, and I want to find someone who's high in that, who will help me with that particular aspect of the business. And again, what is this about? Business is about selling a product people buy. It's about making money. Profitability is pretty top. It's my number 10, but it's pretty top in whether or not a business succeeds. And one thing I've been doing recently, some other self-learning on my own during this time, and I've known about this profitability, and I've known about, what do you charge per hour, that kind of thing. And so I have found some different tools out there that are automated tools, that are software tools that kind of help with this as well. Not like a QuickBooks, this isn't accounting, but just a way to think about the profitability side of, say, a coaching business or any business. So there are other tools out there as well. That's my knowledge of me, seeking it out. All right, then the last page, check my time here. The last page then explains, gives you a summary on the Rainmaker role. Again, that's your Steve Jobs, that's the face. If you're local here, if you know Godfather's Pizza, Willie Thiessen, Willie's face was just in the paper again recently. Willie's back. He's building a new Godfather's out west. And Willie is definitely, originally was that face of Godfather. So that Rainmaker. The other person then would be a conductor. These people are so valuable. I worked on an initiative the last couple of summers with high school students around builder talent. And we brought 100 high school students together. And again, I'm expert, so I know my stuff, but I partnered with 3 people who helped me, and all 3, before we knew it, before they took their assessment, but all 3 were conductors. And I have to tell you, as we were the leadership team for this program the last couple of years, those 3 partners of mine who were conductors absolutely made it work, because they're the ones that got everybody going in the same direction. They're the ones that helped me to be organized. with the students, with the young people, with the adults that we involve. So that conductor role is super, super, super valuable. Don't scrimp on it. And if you are, you're valuable. Remember that. And then lastly, your experts. A lot of times these are your innovators too. They're the people who sit in innovator, and they really need conductors and rainmakers around them. So unless I see questions, I'm going to go ahead and go back to, there we go, back to my slideshow. All right, and then a little bit too, so after you take your assessment and you work through the E module that I really quickly showed you on the website, with your top 4 talents then, Gallup's put together again. These are ways that you can continue to learn about yourself on your own. It's kind of nice, it's safe to be able to learn about yourself on your own. And it's a great way to decide, you know, this, I want more, but you got to start with something. So here's it. So for example, my disruptor, which was my number 1. So then part of having taken the assessment was Gallup puts together, you know, a description of the disruptor. Again, a reminder about those leadership roles, rainmaker, expert, conductor. Again, I'm going to partner my disruptor as an expert. What are the outcomes? Your ability to move in a new direction. You are not the status quo. You're like status quo, schmo, other way. If it ain't working, fix it. Market disruption. For me, it was more like having been in K-12 education, it was more like educational disruption. Much harder to disrupt at a higher level. This pandemic, on the other hand, has been a wonderful market disruptor for K-12 education. Likelihood to acquire market share before others, innate talents then tied to that, and then tasks that you can do with your disruptor to help develop that talent into a strength. So that is that one, and I'll just quickly, so then I've got, again, for my number, there's another one was risk. It does the same thing so that you can do that self-learning, selling. So again, in the 3 years since I've taken it, the tools that have been developed are just phenomenal to help you go in and learn on your own. And I would encourage you, if you've taken it or if you haven't taken it or you haven't been in there in a while, please take advantage of those tools to learn on your own. So we've gone over what it is. It's a tool to help you identify your talent to build, and we're all builders. That's what I say, we're all builders. We're all building our lives at the very least. We're building our lives. A lot of people not talk about, well, I'm building my brand. That's your life. You're building who you are. So we're all builders. So we all need to be thinking about profitability and confidence and risk. Calculated risk, right? Not necessarily like cliff jumping, unless you've got good supports. So now what? Some personal ideas, some ways that you can use this VP10 assessment beyond using it to build a business. So let's say you're not, yeah, I'm not sure about the business thing, but I like this idea of being a builder, and I am building my life, or I'm building my educational path, I'm building my career path. And by knowing, you know, how my top 10 talents around building align and what my leadership role is, now that could really be helpful to me. So personally, this can, I really think, lead to satisfaction, engagement, and empowerment around your builder talent. You are builder talented. We all are. You can continue to develop, read, practice, find a talent partner or an accountability partner, whatever it is that works. Find someone else who's interested. Share, talk together, find a coach. There are life coaches, there are specifically BP10 coaches. Find a coach to help you. It's not a consultant, it's not an advisor, it's a coach. You're the one that reaches in. What that person does is facilitates and guides your learning to help you know what's your next best step. Help others know and develop their talents. That's kind of what I'm doing tonight. It also helps me to understand my own, helps me to grow, you know, who I am. I have mentioned this already, but we'll take a minute here to go take a look on Gallup's website, specifically at some of the information around their Builder Initiative. So this is a separate kind of tab, if you will, within the Gallup website, and it's their Builder Initiative. And there's a lot of great information in here. One of the things that was created around the VP10 assessment is the Born to Build book by Mr. Clifton and Sangeeta Bottle. And this Born to Build book has great resources and tools to help you as well as a website. It also contains a code, so that you buy the book, you get the code in there. Pretty good deal. But it's Dr. Bottle's research and support around, so that reading that you can do. Another thing, here's the assessment, so where you would go to take that. And then the resources. So how they define you. And this is more limited than what I showed you when I went into my VP10 assessment. I've taken the assessment, so I have access to a whole lot more resources than someone who's in the Builder Initiative kind of looking around. But there are some articles and there are some things that could be quite helpful. But if you want the full suite of the work that Gallup has developed, you would need to take that assessment. Let's see. All right. All right. Moving on here. At work, take on the challenges that fit your builder talents. Become the go-to person to be counted on. Become or further develop your role as an intrapreneur. Seriously, people get to do this. They get to push against the status quo, and they get to build what's next to improve an organization. Chief Innovation Officer. I want that job. Oh my gosh. So, but those are out there. Maybe that's you. Maybe that could be you. How can I use my talent to get a job or promotion? Yeah, note those on a resume. Note them in a cover letter. Note them in an interview. Identify one or two builder talents to address with a success story. Have to be able to talk about it. Don't just name it. Whatever you do, be prepared to talk confidently about your talents, and only list the talents you can speak to with an example. It's okay if it's only one or two, as long as you have clear examples, again, about those. The worst thing you can do is list them, get asked about them, and have no response. I had met with an employer in town, and that was one of their concerns when we were encouraging our young people to put this on their resumes. Well, they can't really speak to it. He said, I've had people come in and they can't even speak to it. And I said, I won't consider them any further. So please don't put it in a resume unless you can speak to what it means to you and how you've seen success with it. Build or grow your own business. And this is really cool. This is at the heart. This is at the heart and soul of the Builder Initiative. We're all builders. We all have talent. We'll do with that talent and build what we will. But this is at the heart and soul, this idea of building businesses, identifying builder talent. We invest so much time, so much money, so many resources to developing our academics, to developing our athletes, to developing our artists, to developing our craftspeople, and I would never want to take any of that away. The value that we get from that is tremendous. My point is that what Gallup has learned is that builder talent, identifying people who have that strong talent to build or grow a business and developing it, is just as important as the great athletes who become their own business. What's going on now with the NCAA? Athletes get to be a business, don't they? Beyonce is a business. Beyonce is an incredibly talented artist. She's smart and she's a business. And so build or grow your own business and realize your value in that and invest in that. Gallup has shown that it can be invested in and it can be developed. And that's why I got my students involved with it. That's why I've stayed involved with it. That's why I became a coach, so that I could help other people identify those talents, own those talents, build those talents, and then grow their businesses. Very, very important. And it's why I'm with you this evening. So when you want to grow your own business, you look at your builder talents and this is in your report. And then you look at your behaviors around that talent. You kind of pick out those things that are more you. When you read your report, some things are going to be more you than others. So within confidence, let's say that strong self-belief is what really resonated for you. Well, what that can mean in a business outcome is that you're an early mover in the market. So people might be saying, oh, we're not, we're not ready for that. Nobody's going to want that, but you're so confident. You're so confident in this idea, this business that you have, this tool that you want to sell, that you just do it. iPhones, smartphones, hello. We didn't know we needed them, did we? Now, who doesn't have one? My 16-year-old finally got one. He was like the last person in his class. He was sure we were trying to ruin his social life. But seriously, confidence, gotta have a lot of confidence. Determination, if that's one of your top 4 talents, you're tenacious and persistent, helps you attain your business goals. Think of that power in that. The empowerment. I know I'm determined, I'm tenacious, and I'm persistent. I can attain goals. Well, dang, let's write them down and let's go get those goals. So again, when we know, if I know I'm a great 800 runner because somebody has pointed out to me and now they're giving me their time and I'm putting time in, and you know what? I'm now made it to the state track meet, or I'm going to run in college because somebody identified I'm an 800 runner, which by the way, I never, ever, ever was. But what a dream. Too late now. I'm not going to do the masters on that. But think about that. If someone has helped you identify your determination and you see that as tenacious and persistent, not painting their rear end to somebody, it helps you attain goals. Man, risk. Again, that rational approach to decision making, that allows you to take in that deep breath and jump, so to speak, and launch that new initiative. Hopefully you've got that combined with some confidence and you rock and roll with that. What about in terms of your building your business? And again, Gallup's initiative is we can know these, we can develop these, we can make these strengths, we can turn this into economic energy. So highly talented builders are, from Gallup's research, 4 times more likely to create jobs. Again, what's the #1 thing people in the world want? Jobs. Good jobs, great jobs, meaningful jobs. Really, any job can be meaningful. 4 times more likely to exceed profit goals. Highly talented builders. How do you get highly talented? You develop it. You develop it. You get coached, you do reading, you get groups. 3 times more likely to build large businesses and grow them significantly. Highly talented builders. Lastly, the last one that they talk about is you're 5 times more likely to exceed sales goals too. Again, probably tied to that, back into that confidence trait. So it's so important and so valuable always to think about starting businesses and building businesses. It's more important now than ever. My heart goes out to all the businesses in our own community who have been shut down, who have had to permanently close down because of the current economic crisis and events that are going on. And yet, we know they've built a successful business. So let's be there to support them also, to get them back, to make those good jobs. If you've been inkling to start a business, use this to help you do that. Think, you know what? This is the time. This is the opportunity for me to really shine and to create that economic energy in my community. A couple of other ways too, as I let me check my time here as I wrap up. I've used this with, like I said, with high school students, and it's been very effective. They really, really valued upon exit interviews, and they still talk to me about it. This was with high school students. They really, really valued this knowing about themselves. In particular, when I think about talent with alternative school students that I've worked with, or at-risk students in different environments. It's not unusual for them to sit down and have a conversation with you. And if you ask them, well, how'd you end up in an alternative school? Because when I worked in an alternative school, that's what people asked me all the time. Well, how'd you end up in an alternative? You know, how did your students end up in an alternative school? And my comment back to them is, well, name something. Yep, that's how they ended up there. So it's pretty vast. But the kid, him or herself, can give you a whole long list of all the things that were wrong with them or all the things that they did wrong that got them landed in an alternative school setting. When you ask them then, well, what are you good at? Where are you talented in? What were you successful at? It wasn't unusual for them to absolutely have nothing to tell you. And that is just not right, that they're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old and they've been in school that long. And the only thing they've been able to identify with is how they've screwed up. We are all talented, and we need to speak to that more. Another environment, I think that this has been really valuable that I've had an opportunity to work in is we have a whole lot of talent, and in our prison system, we have a whole lot of talent. 90% of the incarcerated in our communities will be returning to our communities. So we fortunately don't lock people up forever, but by not helping them identify their talents, sometimes we do end up keeping them locked out of opportunities. So I've also had an opportunity to work with the RISE organization and go inside, if you will, to work with some really talented builders, both women and men. And again, they're a lot like the kids in the alternative school. They're really good at, like telling you everything that went wrong. They're not so good at being able to tell you about what's right with them. And by using things like the Clifton Strengths and the Builder Profile 10 with them, a lot of them are pretty entrepreneurial anyway. It is that kind of not good entrepreneurship that landed them behind bars and incarcerated. So you can take that, illegal hustle and make that an appropriate business. There's some great opportunities for them and as entrepreneurs, as builders. So again, 97% of our incarcerated are going to return to our communities. And it's my opinion and my passion and my belief that we want them to be ready to return to our communities. We want to be ready to welcome them. And by knowing what their talents are, by helping them develop those talents, by helping them have something to talk about other than everything that went wrong that landed them in prison, this is a way to do that. So it's been really, again, we're all talented. And we're so quick to point out the self-help industry and what we want to fix in ourselves. So this can help us to focus on what we're good at. It doesn't mean that we ignore parts of us that can be destructive to others or to ourselves. We can't ignore that, but that's a different realm than what I'm talking about. We're all talented. So any other thoughts or questions or takeaways? I really enjoyed being here with you and hope you take something out. I love any comments that you might have before. I'm not going to make you stay on. So if there aren't any comments, then we'll kind of wrap up. Let me check my notes. Make sure I've covered everything I wanted to cover. All right. And thank you. I really, really appreciate the time that you're spending with me. I can look out my window. It's hot out there, but it is still a very lovely evening here in Omaha. And I plan to head out into it when we're done. So thank you for taking time out of your evening to join me. You can find me on LinkedIn by my name. I'm at Gmail by my name. I'm always happy to help you decide if one-to-one coaching could help you grow your builder talents into strengths for your future. We are all builders. So thanks so much for joining me. Have a good night.